starting with a sphere, what we're going to do is we're going to try and make this look a bit more like a human-headed shape, just general, do some work on that. And to be perfectly honest, I end up completely redoing the head shape entirely. But what I wanted to show you guys is that sometimes, it's alright if you end up making something and you're like, I don't really like that, and then to basically redo it. There are a couple parts during this sculpt where I made something, like I remake the head and I remake the shirt later on down the line. So adding in some more spheres, where I'm just kind of getting some basic shapes here, getting in some ears, getting in the neck, just so, to kind of help me down the road, mirroring the ear to the other side, because, most people have 2 ears. But we're going to sculpt away, just kind of refine a bit more like of the jawline here. We're going to carve away at the mesh, kind of dig in a little bit so we can get that jawline, so we can get where the eyes are going to be sitting on this sculpt. Put a little dot there for the nose and kind of pull that out, and just making little baby steps is what we're doing on the head shape. You don't need to rush into it. We're just trying to get some shapes in correctly, and adding another sphere to get the eyes. Here we're going to start carving in the mouth, and the mouth looks horrible, and that's okay, because as you get down further in the line, you can add in more detail down the road. It doesn't need to be perfect right off the bat. This looks horrifying, and it looks a bit better down the road when I started adding in a bit more detail, but I ended up redoing it anyways because I wasn't satisfied with the way it looked. So here we're just kind of drawing in the eyelids, kind of similar with the lips there, just add more details in later. I had a couple issues with the recording software that I was using, where it would just kind of stop and I didn't notice. So I'm going to show you guys with the eyebrows what I kind of did here with the eyelashes, which is taking a single vertice and just kind of with the snap tool on, and then eventually a shrink wrap, just following along the edge of the eye, and then turning off the snapping tool and extruding that out and just kind of shaping it appropriately. I tried taking the bottom portion of the eyelash and kind of extruding it out, positioning it correctly to try and get the bottom portion here. I believe I end up redoing that when I redo the face sculpt, as you'll see when we get to that point. So here's where I kind of show it off. I take a single vertice, just kind of trace it along for the eyebrows, and then when I'm satisfied with that result, I will just select them all and just extrude them up. And then using a shrink wrap modifier to kind of get them into position, a little shade smooth, and take it from there. Here, shaping the neck, because no one's neck looks like that. Taking another sphere, giving it the color basic of hair. We're just going to kind of match the outline of the head, so when we do the hair strands, as you will see, this kind of helps fill in any of the blank gaps here. Here we use a curve and I believe it's a curve and a path, I want to say. Yeah, it's a curved circle and a curved path. That's what it was. I was trying to remember the names of them off the top of my head. Taking another sphere, what we're going to do is we're going to line out the bodies there. Those little cubes there, as you see me lining out the body here, the typical method is taking a cube, scaling it down so it's about the size of the head, duplicating that 7 times, and then that'll get you about the size of the body. It doesn't have to be exact, but that kind of gives a good little scale of about, where the feet should be to where the head is, and that kind of helps you align the arms and just other parts of the body. Then we're just going to kind of start sculpting in the basic shapes here, just, keeping it pretty rough to start off with until we can add in a bit more details here. I actually just copied the legs and the feet to give me the hands. I end up making adjustments to those. Using our inflate brush, we go in and add a little bit more detail, start merging some of the body parts together as we're pulling everything in, like I merge the shoulders, like the upper arms, and then into the body here. With the hands are pretty tricky, so we drag out the thumb there, we carve in for the palm, and then we take one finger, it's just a circle, a sphere, just elongated, and then that's one finger there, and what we end up doing here is we just kind of shape it in as we need to, and duplicating it, positioning it correctly, doing a little rotation in there, and just duplicating it and duplicating it. 5 fingers, last time I checked, most of us have 5. Here we take a plane, similar method to the eyebrows, but instead of just one single vertice, it's an entire plane. Using the poly build tool, I start working on the shirt. By the end of it, I end up not too pleased with it, and so that ends up not happening. Shrink wrap modifier, subdivision modifier to help it kind of get a bit more detail in there. Similar method to the belt, just added a solidify modifier in there as well. Just kind of adding in detail as we need to, just some pretty basic stuff here. Here we are positioning to get the holes in the shirt that she has with the little bandages. Here we're kind of adding a little bit more detail in because the collar thing on Jinx's neck. If you look at the Arcane design, just got that little collar thing along the neck. Similar method for the shirt that we do for the pants here. Just a plain, just looping it around. I did have to do a little extra work around the groin area because just the way the snap tool was working, had to turn that off and kind of work my way around with that. Same thing with the shoes here, just adding a little bit of detail as we go along. Just taking it slow as we need. The bandages are just a plain, just kind of stuck there with the shrink wrap modifier, and I duplicated them and then made one a little bit bigger and turned it black. I end up using this method a lot, as you'll see. The clip there is what I added onto the boot, and I just copied it and recolored it. And there we go. We've got 2 bandages right on the arms, or little belt things. The Jinx has a weird outfit. It looks kind of cool for her design, but I don't know what's going on there half the time. Here, most of on the left arm there is just one solid piece, but I end up going in and just giving it separate materials. Here you'll see what I was talking about with those circles. Just go in using the bool tool, add on and cutting into the shirt there, adding in those little bandages that kind of loop around. For the gloves, it's a similar method. I just had to be very careful. This one I was trying to line up all the vertices that you can see here. I was trying to make sure they would even out. It's the first time for me even that I kind of did something like this involving almost like re-meshing the hands to get the gloves. And I mean, it worked. I learned a lot doing this method. The end result here is I actually got some gloves that I actually was pretty happy with. Selecting some of the faces here and giving them a different material for the pants, and I do the same for the gloves and everything like that. And then we take a little piece of the pants here, extrude that out, and position it appropriately for that little piece on the side there that's kind of hanging down. And here it is with the gloves, just getting the faces and giving them a different material as need be. Here we start working on the little belt that she's got that kind of loops around on the side. I end up having to redo this one about 2 or 3 times before I finally found something that I was kind of I was like, all right, I'm satisfied with that. So it doesn't have to be a first attempt thing. You can struggle with these. This whole sculpt, I believe when all was said and done, this is about, I want to say about 20 hours of footage that I had to try and edit down until I don't know how long this video is going to be, 12-minute video. So there's a lot going on here, and I could make a longer video if people would enjoy that thing. I'm still learning myself. So here you can see me adding the little suspender strap on there. I'm still learning a lot of this stuff myself, and that's why I make these videos. Being perfectly honest, I like the sculpt, the finished product, what I got here, but it's not my favorite. I almost considered not even making this video. Here is me actually redoing the shirt because I realized that the collar on her neck kind of connects to the shirt in a very weird way, and I wasn't happy with it. So I ended up just completely redoing the entire shirt, and I was a lot happier with the end result of the second shirt. Here you can see me going through the head sculpt, the second head sculpt. We kind of speed along a bit on this because it's a pretty similar method that I did for the other one. I just took my time a bit more carefully and was trying to get something that looked a little bit different because I wasn't too happy with the way the previous head sculpt worked. Taking the eyelashes from the previous one and just kind of fitting them around. The hair was two spheres elongated and basically parented along to a curve path, and just kind of, I'd have to make a little tutorial on how I did that one exactly. It kind of took me a little bit to figure it out, but I'm glad it worked out the way it did. Adding in the hair strands, again, just positioning them as need be. It's a lot of copying and pasting. Carving in the ears because I realized, hey, she's supposed to have ear details and I didn't do that. Adding in some more hair towards the braids here at the very bottom, right under those little cylinders that I added. Here we're taking an armature, scaling it up. I actually had issues with the recording around this time and the armature itself. If you ever use the Rigify, that little bone you just saw me delete and kind of towards the face, yeah, delete that or you're gonna have issues. Positioning the bones as needed in here. And then this is actually where the recording got kind of cut out and I didn't realize it. I didn't realize it had stopped. So we actually position as need be. with using the Rigify add-on is what I did there. So we start, then once the model is positioned, then we start going in and just kind of carving in some trying to add wrinkles to the shirts, and I kind of experiment a little bit to find stuff I like, going in and smart UV unwrapping the face here to add in some more texture, some reds in the faces. I end up blending it in and all kinds of things, you know, just to make it look a bit better. If you look at her hair in the show, sometimes it kind of has like a little purpley tint to it. It's not just straight blue, it's like a little purpley. So I end up playing around with a lot of nodes, trying to get some kind of similar effect, just messing around with stuff until I found something that I was a little satisfied with. Here for the tattoos, I just take a plane and just kind of trace it along a picture I found on Google talking about her tattoos, and then just use a shrink wrap modifier again and just kind of stick it to there. Actually, when I was getting ready to do final renders, I realized she didn't have her nails, and I was like, oh no! So I went in and I added the fingernails to each hand, and then as you saw when I was positioning those, the texturing was off on the fingers, which is actually, I'm kind of glad that I saw that, because then I was able to go in and just fix that up real quick, do some last minute touch-ups on the body, you know, carve in a little bit of details, kind of make her have a little bit more of the abs going on there. And with all of that said and done, this was like 20 hours of work I did on this sculpt, and I'm happy with it. I like the way it turned out. It's not my favorite one that I've done. My last video was on the Barian mode Naruto, which I personally like a bit more. I know there was some more work that I could have done on that one, but I kind of like that one a little bit more than what I did here. This one was definitely a little bit more challenging because there was a lot more like little details going on with her than there was in the Naruto one that I did previously. And I almost considered not uploading this at all, to be perfectly honest with you all, but I decided to go for it because that's the point of this channel. Is I want people to see and to know that it's alright if you're making stuff that you know you're not exactly happy with. I'm not the best at this by any means. There are so many people that are way better at this sculpting thing than I am. I'm still learning, but I want people to know, you know, that if I do hit a point where I'm making stuff that's as good as, like, say, Yam Sculpts or, you know, Polygon, people like that, that even they still make stuff that they're probably not, you know, happy with. Like, you are your biggest critic, and I'm here to share almost anything I make. I've got some monstrosities that I hope will never see the light of day, ever. That's for sure. But it's alright to make stuff that you're not exactly, you know, while other people might be like, oh, that looks so good, to you, you're like, it could have been better. Use it as a learning experience, and that's what I'm doing here. So, I like the end result. There are some things that I would like to have changed. My end goal was to get this sculpt done before Blender 3.0 came out, and I was able to do that about 3 hours before it came out, so, you know, got those deadlines to meet. Anyways, guys, I know I've kind of kept you here long enough, and it's kind of all over the place here. I'm doing a couple courses that I've bought off of the Blender market, and I'm using those to practice and hopefully get better. So hopefully by the next time I upload another sculpt video here, we'll already be able to see some results there. But the biggest things I can say is just practice, 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 and you know what, man? We'll all get there eventually. It's frustrating, but eventually we'll all be making art as amazing as whoever inspired you to do this in the first place. I want to thank you all for watching, though. From DustyMill. I think I said from watching. You know what? We're going to roll with it. We're going to roll with it. From watching. Thanks for watching. My name's DustyMill. Bye, everybody.